Hey everybody, Kenny K here again with a new review. A movie from 1986, Nomads, directed by John McTierman, and you probably know him from Die Hard, the first one. Uh, did he do? I think the second one he did too. I'm not sure. Multiple action movies. He eventually got in trouble with the law, fraud or tax something, tax evasion or the hell, something like that. But he directed this movie. It's with Pierce Brosnan. It's fun to see him in a an early role. And then the female lead, because I don't know, is Leslie Ann Down, playing Dr. Eileen Flax. Pierce Brosnan, an anthropologist, playing Jean Charles Pommier. You got it right. He plays a Frenchman. Pierce Brosnan from descent is Irish. So his French was pretty good. Yeah. And his wife is Veronique Pommier. Now, what happened? So what they did was actually follow these nomads. Nomads are basically, for a little education. I personally I didn't know either. It's because of this movie that I saw and know. Nomads are basically these people, these tribes, as you will, that go from place to place, but they don't stay in a. They go intercontinental. I mean, they go from country to country, but they stay away or shy away normally from big cities, and they stay like in jungle, in more peaceful areas. And what they did, I'm just gonna say Brosnan. That's because Jean Charles, okay, Brosnan and his wife, they followed them and took pictures. And in theory, you can do that probably, and if you follow a set of rules, because these people have rules. But apparently, they allowed them to be photographed by them. Now they wanted to settle down, have a kid, and they moved to LA. And then you see him acting like, oh yes, America, Big Mac, oui, oui, no baguette. So he's acting. That's how he's talking. So you got this French, accent with English. It's fun to see him doing that. Now the movie begins. So it's a spoiler review. Okay, so know this. Um, uh, the movie begins with somebody in the, what's it called, the ICU, the emergency room, um, uh, and Dr. Flax, in British doctor, she goes examine a person who they think is on some kind of drug or something, LSD, tripping, and they hear him constantly talking in French, and what we see is a Pierce beaten up Pierce Brosnan, and he's pretty shaken up, and he's mumbling in French, and I understood a few words, but he does something weird with Dr. Flax. She is like attracted to him. She goes to kiss him, and because he's looking at her like flirty eyes, and he's mumbling something, and then he takes like a marker, which is, I'm not sure if it's a marker because you couldn't see the mark, so it's like maybe a self, like cream or something, and he does this, and then he becomes crazy, and so crazy that the the hinges of those beds, of those emergency beds where they pull somebody up. He breaks those and just flies on Dr. Flanks and bites her in the neck. Now, no, he's not a vampire, but he, for some reason, he bites her. Now, this is a now that was for a sort of transition from his spirit. A part of his spirit goes in her. She now knows what happened in the past and what she has to do in the future. So what happens is these these nomads basically. So it's basically they have this new house. You see his wife. It's weird because you see his wife acting to somebody who's looking at her, and then you see somebody looking out the window and you see it's Pierce Brosnan. Ah, so okay, we're not like 2 weeks before. Like it's not said, it's just assumed that it's probably the past. Okay, we see a Pierce Brosnan looking at the window, and he's sort of sighing because he doesn't really want to retire, but he knows his wife wants to, so he does it for his wife. And there's this black fan that constantly is driving and is interested in their house. Now, what happens at some point is he goes to put out the garbage. He sees those people from the black fan a little bit in distance, and doing uh, they're dancing and shit and like that. And eventually he looks at the his carport, from the garage, and he sees kill pigs. Now, what that reminded me of is, if you know Charles Manson, the real killer, his, I mean, Charles Manson never did the killing, but his acolytes, all they put in blood, kill pigs, basically to kill as many cops, because pigs were cops. That was the slur for cops. And I still don't know what that had to do with the movie, because so what happens is, at some point he sees them again and again and again, and at some point he takes his cameras out from Nikon, and you can see it's like he's introducing the brand. He's clicking it open, like it's like he's getting a gun out or something. No, it's what probably for him is his weapon, his camera. So he's following these people now, the black fan, and he sees them doing weird shit. And it's in all those 80s movies, the big cities like New York, Maniac has that, The Burning has that, The Howling has that, this movie has that. All the big cities, now this is LA, at night they become grimy, greasy, sleazy. You see like these uh, poker rooms, these peep shows, these prostitutes all over, punks, this and that. Yeah, it's weird, because now I went to Manhattan and New York, and Manhattan, and I visited New York, and it was night, and I didn't have the feeling that it was so grimy and sleazy. Maybe certain neighborhoods, I don't know, probably, but it's I always got the feeling that they represent that. Now there's a catchy song, such a rock pop song, whatever it is, but a catchy song that they put in these when he's following the nomads, or when the nomads start to follow him and try to get him, because they start notice because they notice because he actually they see this. There's this giant black dude. He with the nomads, and he throws this guy with a bloody face in a dumpster. Now I'm not sure if they killed the guy or not. And he says, "Oh no, you cannot do that." And they're like, "Get him!" And then they go after him. So he's running away, running away. He goes in this what apparently is a convent, used to be a convent for nuns. And there's this one nun. Uh, she plays the, he can call her Ygritte or something. Uh, but she is the only one there to basically hold the fort. Now, I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure, but I think she was a ghost. She was the she. It was the old lady from Twin Peaks, but I like Twin Peaks. It's a combination of all these genres: goofiness, drama, romance, horror, thriller, suspense, everything in one show. And it's the old lady with the boy that with which is originally David Lynch, rest in peace, because he died recently. His son, and they do this with the corn in his hand. Yeah, you gotta see. Yeah, you have to know Twin Peaks to know this. I don't know her name. I forgot to write down her name. Now she plays this nun, and she says, "You want some tea?" And he's following her, and he's saying, "We," and then she's got and she's always disappearing, and then she's standing next to him, and then she's disappearing again, and then she's standing next to him, and then behind him, and it's weird. So I'm guessing because no one can live there. It's so dilapidated that nobody can live there, not even a nun. So she says at some point, she says, "You have to go now. They're coming. You have to go." Because she explains that these people are evil spirits. So he goes, they run after him again. Then he follows them. He buys a baguette, a French baguette. He's eating them. He's following them for 2 days straight without sleep, without basically one baguette, and that's it. He didn't even notice that, and he's constantly following them. Then they are chasing him, and then at some point he almost gets caught. Then he hears them on the rooftop playing music. He goes on the rooftop and he sees them, and you have a few with nicknames. Number one, who I'm guessing is the leader, Dancing Mary, uh, Ponytails, the Razor. Now, the Razor had demon like eyes and sharp teeth, but I didn't see the guy. I saw a picture of him on IMDb. Now, this movie gets a 5.2, and I'm giving it a 4.5 or something, 4 actually. Because listen, he keeps following them and he's taking pictures, and the number one guy sees him taking pictures, and he's doing like this and this, like mug shots. And then he looks at him, and then he points to this lady, which is nicknamed Dancing Mary, and she starts to dance erotically on the top of the car, and she's standing, looming over him, and he's taking those pictures and pictures, and they're not doing anything. They're not even chasing him at this point. But then at some point, I'm not sure, this other lady, Nomad, takes his, I think he takes the thing out of the photograph, the film, and he says, "Okay, okay, I go." He can go freely, but then when he arrives at home, he sees Dancing Mary in his rear window, and he you know he's scared. It's a jump scare. He goes out of his car and he sees number one standing on the front of the street. He takes a tyrant iron out of his car, but he doesn't go to him. He just goes to the door, and number one follows him in a easy pace. And from the moment that number one wants to touch him, it doesn't have a weapon or something like that. Wants to touch him, he's like, clunks him with the fucking tyrant iron, and he is like, "Ugh," and he runs away, and then he goes after him, and he clunks him again, and he pummels him in the ground, and he fucks him up, and he easily could have beaten him to death. And he goes up to his bedroom where his wife is sleeping, and he does the weirdest shit. And now, okay, this is for the ladies maybe, because Pierce Brosnan goes, he has this completely open window. He completely strips down. You can see his bare ass. He's standing against the window like he's he's sticking to the window like Spider-Man, completely in a nude. He turns around. I don't know if you can see some Brosnan dick, but maybe. He goes to his wife. He wants to fuck her. You see him going to her tits and then going down on her. And before he wants to go down on her, he says, merde. He said, merde being shit. And I guess he pre ejaculated. Oh, it's weird. It's a weird scene, and the movie is weird. So he says to his wife that, you know, because she's angry, he's being gone for 2 days, and he explains that they're nomads, and that nomads being in a city, it's unusual. But then what happens then? It's that the doctor, going back to the doctor, Dr. Flax, she sees everything what he has done. So when he gets hit, she gets hit. It's like she has a seizure then, or when they have sex, she wakes up. uh, she wakes up in the bed besides Veronique, guessing she wanted to have probably sex with Veronique, and she said, when she's awake, you were ill and you were weird, you were groping me. So and she said, but I don't, because her, open mind, she's, following nomads, things like that. She's not a bitch being a bitch about it. Just take it easy, sleep, I make you some tea, she says. uh Eventually, Veronique says, we go somewhere, okay? We And she takes her. She says, no, 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 I don't want to, because then we go back to Pierce Brosnan and Veronique, and they're on this skyscraper. Those skyscrapers, when you can go as a tourist usually, and they see all over the city, and you can see the city, and you can, um, there usually have these glass things to protect, you from falling down, and you can't throw a penny. It's because they're so high. uh, this nomad guy, ponytails, standing next to him. He suddenly stands next to him. Then he goes and stands between him and his wife. His wife doesn't notice it. She's taking pictures, and he's like, takes him and he just throws him over the nomad, over the railing, and fuck. And then that's the last time we see Pierce Brosnan. We do see some snippets what happened apparently, what happened that caused him to go to the hospital. He of course was beaten up fiercely by the black dude, the big black dude. Then the dancing Mary and those girls are like licking him and torturing him mentally, and that's the last time we see some snippets of him. That's the last time we see Pierce Brosnan until the end. One last scene, weird scene, and at she knows we have to get out of here. We have to get out of here. The nomads are coming. So Veronique, okay, she follows her blindly uh, because she knows what happened to her husband. She still doesn't know if he's dead or not. She doesn't say, and she takes her by the arm, and then you see all these nomads coming down the street. They take the wires out from the telephones. They can't call the police. They're like 100 nomads on bikes, on in the van, on fucking bicycles, and they're trashing the house. They're flying through the windows, through the roof, the door. I mean, they are superhuman because they have superhuman strength. Because they just slam through the door because they barricade themselves at the at the uh, they barricade themselves at one of the rooms, and you dancing Mary, as dancing Mary, she just breaks through the a wooden wall, and she looks, and Dr. Flax is like, ah, and Veronique is watching her, and dancing Mary is like watching them, and she smiles, and then she goes away, and then the rest of the nomads are still there until the morning, and they're all gone. Now, it's a fancy neighborhood. It's not like a rural area. You have all these fancy houses, like a cul-de-sac. Shouldn't somebody call the cops? I mean, if you see 100 people, you can clearly see they're just rushing in that house. Wouldn't you call the cops? No, okay, apparently not. Uh, they're living in a neighborhood full of dickheads, and they escape. They drive away. One nomad on a bicycle is following them, and that nomad, he drives past them, stops, and they look at him. He takes off his glasses, and it's Pierce Brosnan, and he does like this. No, he does like this towards Dr. Flax. Now I don't know what what he um, what he means with that. I don't know if he means that she shouldn't say what happened to him, uh, or that she should follow the nomads. I'm not sure, but he became a nomad, one of the gang. Okay, and the movie ends. So the movie is it's it's not even horror, and there's a few suspense moments, but they're utilized not in not a good way. And then when they are utilized, when they are utilized, they're fucked up, and then he goes basically just towards them, and they don't do anything towards him, so they're not actually super dangerous. And you can see Dancing Mary breaking down the fucking through the to the wall, and she doesn't do anything. So they're just there to scare them and fuck their place up. There's not okay. And why is Pierce Brosnan a nomad? What was the meaning of controlling Dr. Flax? And he looked like he wasn't that hurt. I mean, he was beaten up, right? But he wasn't that hurt. He didn't have any puncture wounds or something. He wasn't stabbed. He just was beaten up, bruised, and he dies after biting. It's weird, right? It's weird. So yeah, the movie, I give it a 4. It's not, in my opinion, not a horror movie. I believe John McTierman, yeah, wanted to work. Wanted to work with Pierce Brosnan because he did Remington Steele. I know this movie as a kid. I saw that movie, a movie or a series, right? It's a movie, yeah. But then after that, they were later to get they worked again together in another action movie because McTierman is an action guy, right? He doesn't do, but this is a style. It's more like a stylish horror movie. It's presented that way, and oh, it's not my thing. It's not my not nah. It it had a catchy song, and the acting wasn't that bad, but there was no real logic behind him following them for days on end, and that they're not doing anything basically against him. They don't want to hurt him, even when e- eventually they hurt him because okay, he fucked up their leader, probably killed him, maybe, I don't know. And you don't see evil spirits. I mean, okay, you see that they have superhuman strength, but you don't see like what I thought, the white eyes and shit, and that would be creepier, and like that. But no, they're just like evil spirits inhabiting these nomads. So that's the story about nomads. So if you're interested, I found it on, I think, YouTube or Tubi or Daily Motion. You can find it for free. Um, it's one from 86, so I can take that off the list. So subscribe and see you later, guys. Bye bye.